Hey, less lethal people. So, I had off today and my fiance was at work, so I had some time to play around here. And I got some really interesting results. I was just horsing around outside and I got my chronograph, the regular one that I have, and it was working good today. I changed the battery out in it and I decided to bring it outside and do a little testing. And I got some really outstanding results. Let me find my paper here, hang on. So, let me see what I wrote down here. I did a test, so I used DK Spencer's, or I should say BK Spencer, Brenda Spencer's, ammo that I had got. And when I tell you his Kung Fu really is the best, it's insane. I tested both the Pepperball TCP and I tested the Hdr68, and I'll tell you which ones I used and what the results were with them. So to start off with, the Pepperball TCP, I have the PRV delete and the bypass. I took all the guts out of it. It was turned up all the way. With it turned up, no matter what projectile I put in here, the first one, whether it was these or Grimberg, anything, it would shoot 2 out at a time. Once I dialed it down about 3.5, 4 turns, everything was fine. So I dialed this down 3.5 to 4 turns from max. And I got pretty outstanding results. So DK and BK, Daniel and Brenda, they make a bore matched kinetic specifically for the TCP barrel. This is for the stock barrel, and it's a really great barrel. It has the metal detents in it. I kid you not, I got, for the TCP with the bore matched, I got 277 feet per second. And that came out to 38 joules. Now, I used an 8-gram CO2. So using the 8-gram CO2, I shot 5 or 6 shots, and towards the end, it dropped significantly. I have to get a Grimberg magazine for the 12-gram for this, because then I'll have more consistent power. So as far as I'm concerned, with the 8-gram CO2, you are limited. However, these are by far the most outstanding, perfect round for this marker right off the bat. 38 joules is absolutely positively nothing to sneeze at. That will put a good hurting on somebody. So these work magnificently. I do like the Pepperball TCP. I honestly prefer the Hdr68 as far as a marker goes over the Pepperball TCP. And the reason why is the consistency on this, off of 5, even actually off of almost 2 magazines, I'll say 5, 6, about 7 to 8 shots were all consistent with this, as opposed to this. The last 2 shots were weak out of 10 shots. So you're getting a full 2 magazines almost on 1 12-gram CO2 with this modified. And I also used BK Kinetics on these. So the first ones I tried were the BK bore matched for the TCP, and they worked really good. However, I switched and I used their, let me see, they're in here. Ones that say universal, and I kid you not, with the universal ones, I got 30 joules consistently straight across. I think one went down to 29 joules. Out of all my shots, I got 30 joules consistently. Now, what I'll tell you is this. I also got 30 joules. I used 2 of these. I used the universal ones, and I used the ones that just say bore matched on it. I tried it with both, and both of them gave me 30 joules consistently on the Hdr68. They're both big launches to carry. This could be concealed carried a little easier, obviously, than this. However, when I go out, I usually carry my bag with me everywhere I go. Because in my bag, I have chargers, I have Advil, I have a whole bunch of Benadryl because I got stung once 3 times in one day and I was scrounging for Benadryl. So I have that, I have some tourniquets, I have a first aid kit. I mean, I have all my essentials that I need in here, really. And I carry it everywhere I go. I bring it in the car, then if I go in the store, it's nothing for me just to carry my little shoulder bag on me. So if I'm going out and I carry my shoulder bag on me, it's nothing to keep this in there. Whether I keep this in there or this in there, if I'm carrying something on my person, it's going to be either the HDR50 or the HDP50. That's what I would carry on myself. And quite honestly, there's nothing wrong carrying 2, one on your person and one in your go bag, right? It's not a really big bag. It's just goes right over the shoulder and you're good to go. I honestly think I got this one at Walmart and in the sporting goods section where the guns are and stuff. So if I had to choose between these 2 markers for carrying, the reliability on the HDR68 is fantastic. And the thing that I like too is this shooting 38 joules is magnificent. But you would have to use the Grimberg pepper balls if you wanted to use chemical rounds in here. I believe you'd be okay if you used the Grimberg pepper balls. Now, Grimberg pepper balls are weighted, so they're heavy. I think they're about 6 grams. They're pricey, but they're made by Duke Defense. What I have here is, and I can alternate, I have pepper balls made by Duke Defense. And even coming out at 30 joules, they do not break. I've tested them multiple times on this. So you can get away with using the BK Kinetics and the Duke Defense pepper balls. And I'm going to be honest with you, if you got this setup here and you couldn't afford any other setup and you wanted something both for home, your car, your truck, backpack, carrying it around with you, good for people, good for wildlife, good for anything, this is like the ultimate versatile do-all marker. If you couldn't afford to go out and buy an HDP50, an HDR50, a TCP, because these are very expensive. And for half the price, just about, you can have one of these fully modified. And you're honestly good to go. You wouldn't need another marker. It would suffice for home, it's defense, off-body carry defense, car, truck defense. It really, really is an underrated, I think, marker, and people get nervous because it's so big. But the sheer power, 30 joules is perfect. And to be able to do 30 joules and shoot chemical rounds and kinetic rounds, and you don't need to buy a barrel extension or anything for this. And that's how you save money, guys. All these guys, I know it is a hobby, and we all spend tons of money on these markers and stuff, but if you were to buy one of these and modify it with the Home Defense 24 kit, or buy it modified from somebody who makes them, and you were to get these Kinetics from BK and DK, you're going to save money. You're good to go. You have ample, you could get rubber balls to practice at home because you don't need to go through heavy kinetics to practice on targets. And you have an ample amount of self-defense here that's efficient and effective. And then you got your pepper balls. It's honestly a no-brainer. It's the best way to save money. And it really is all that you would need if you can only have one or you can only afford one. Now, it's funny. I know a lot of people out there, it becomes a hobby. It really does. And I have 2 other hobbies. And like all hobbies, you wind up sinking all your money into it. And I can guarantee you there's nobody out there, even people who are making parts and selling things, there's no way people are making more money than they're spending, because it becomes such an addiction. We just keep buying toys for ourselves and we keep testing it out. And what winds up happening is the hobby winds up, you hope it pays for itself or breaks even, because you're making all these things. It costs a lot of money to make things. It's not cheap. You got packaging, you got everything else. Same thing with modifying. You have to order parts from other places. You have to sit on them. Then you want to use them on your own stuff and you try them. So I definitely think most of us are doing this because we really love it and we became, hooked on this. And it really is a cool hobby. We're basically pioneers of this less lethal, and we're basically less lethal launcher smiths instead of a gunsmith. And it is pretty cool. So I was super impressed with it. Like I said, I got consistent 30 and a little over 30 joules with the Hdr68. I couldn't believe I got 38 joules with this. That was off the charts. But because of the 8-gram CO2, it died down a little bit over the course of the 6 shots that I took, or 5 shots that I took. So if you are going to go with one of these and you want that 38 joules or whatever, my honest suggestion is you would be spending the money on the marker. To do the modification really costs nothing. It's a very simple, easy modification to do, and it's not that expensive. But then you have to buy the special magazine, which will hold a 12-gram cartridge. For that, honestly, you might as well just buy a Grimberg gavel. You'll probably save money doing that, buying a Grimberg gavel over buying one of these because then you're going to be buying magazines, everything else. So that's just my opinion on a price point for this. But if you already have one of these or you have an FSC, the TCP barrel on the stock one, these things, outstanding. It does not even pay to use anything else. You don't have to go out and spend a fortune on a new barrel. You don't have to go out and get an extended barrel, anything. You just need to do your magazine though. But 38 joules, forget it. That's fantastic from a small handheld launcher. It's great. So I don't know. I wanted to tell you what I did today and just give you an idea and tell you how pleased I was. And they're a great family. The Dispensers, they have a wonderful product line, and his Kung Fu is the best. Like I said, it's really great. Anyway, enjoy, guys. Have a great weekend.